go. Wow. See, if we're late enough, we can let the California people be on. You don't have to get up at 5 a.m. No problem, Dub. Hope he feels better. Freezing New Jersey. It's freezing North Carolina, too. 28 this morning. Ugh. Ought to be a law. Somebody told somebody something. So good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. It's a new week. Yay. Outer Banks. That sounds good. Probably cold there too. But yeah, it's kind of cold everywhere right now. Yesterday, it just poured rain from start to finish. The farm was a mess, mud everywhere. All the poor animals were just trying to stay in the stalls and stay under cover. And I was hoping they did too, because I really didn't want them to get soaking wet, because the temperature started at almost 70 yesterday morning, and then by overnight it was below 30. So I didn't want a bunch of wet animals standing out in the cold. Just horrible. So one of my good veterinary friends was nice enough to send me the admission paperwork that someone brought with their new puppy. And the paperwork that they brought basically had the list of the vaccinations and dewormings that had been given to this puppy before they bought the puppy. And I think the puppy was brought into her at like 9 or 10 weeks of age. And the puppy started getting dewormings at 2 weeks of age. Vaccines started at 3 weeks of age, which is beyond crazy. And so by the time the puppy was seen in the veterinary office at 10 weeks old, it had already had something like 10 vaccinations. I didn't bring the paperwork with me today, but it had like 10 vaccinations and had been dewormed 15 different times with multiple different dewormers. So they literally were vaccinating this puppy every week, sometimes twice a week, because they were splitting up the vaccines. So sometimes it would be a distemper, sometimes it would be a parvo, but it really doesn't matter. If you're giving 2 vaccines within a week, that poor little guy's immune system is just over the top stressed. Frankly, I haven't seen one this bad in a lot of years, and I have seen a lot of bad ones. A lot of times when we get paperwork like that, first of all, that just screams to us puppy mill and pet store, because a good breeder is not going to start vaccines at 2 to 3 weeks of age. They are not going to be deworming 2 and 3 times a week, every week for a period of 6 weeks. If they have that many parasites going around in their household between their animals, they either have way too many animals or a really dirty situation and a lot of stressed immune systems for those animals to have that many parasites. So it makes me think that somewhere along the way, they just decided, nope, we're just going to vaccinate once a week, twice a week, because we know that for puppies and kittens, when they're born and they take in that first milk, the colostrum from the mother, they're getting antibodies from the mother that will protect them from the childhood diseases. So distemper, parvo, hepatitis. And so if the mother has good immunity, she's going to pass that immunity on to the puppies or kittens. And that mother's immunity will actually interfere with any vaccinations that are given. The vaccine can't work because the immune system isn't going to respond. The mother's immunity that is in the system of the puppy or kitten is basically going to cancel out the vaccination. We know that the mother's immunity will last anywhere up to about 16 weeks, and we don't know when it is going to fall off. But generally it doesn't fall off until at least 10 to 12 weeks. So starting to give vaccinations at 2 weeks of age is beyond ridiculous, because if the mother had any kind of immunity at all, that vaccine is doing nothing for the young animal other than sensitizing their immune system and potentially causing reactions, allergies, problems down the road. So we don't want to see this happening. And first of all, We recommend not buying your puppies and kittens at pet stores because this is the kind of thing that happens. Those animals are not being bred for good genetics. Those animals are either coming from backyard breeders who have so many animals that they can't sell them themselves and they're having to send them to pet stores, or they are coming from puppy and kitten mills. And that means you are in for a world of genetic and immune system problems when you are getting pets from those environments. Now, I will say this same thing holds true if you are adopting a pet. Be very leery if you get paperwork from an adoption group and it shows that the animal has had vaccine after vaccine after vaccine. Unfortunately, we haven't done a good enough job educating a lot of the rescue groups because they will take in an adult dog and maybe the dog passed through a shelter on its way into getting into rescue. Because a lot of times the shelters, if they get a purebred dog in, they will contact a breed rescue to see if the animal can be adopted through a breed rescue. So if they're coming in through a shelter, the shelter automatically vaccinates them. The minute they walk in the door, they get poked with a multitude of vaccinations. And then the rescue group, if it's an adult dog, they'll come in, they'll see that they had the vaccines, but they'll go ahead and vaccinate them again. They don't need another vaccine. If they're an adult dog, that one booster, you're good to go. And for those of you who work in rescue and who foster animals, I would implore you, ask your rescue groups to do titers on these animals for distemper and parvo, potentially even rabies. Let's not just keep over-vaccinating these animals. I am getting so many emails and so many requests for consultations for animals with inflammatory bowel disease, chronic allergies, chronic immune system problems, and this is where a lot of this starts. It starts with over-vaccination, over-medication. These dewormers, they're chemicals, folks. This is, and then they get hit with some flea and tick preventative chemicals, either oral or topical, on top of all of that. And then, to make matters worse, you may bring in a puppy or kitten who has already had, you've got paperwork that shows they've already had way too many vaccinations, and your veterinarian says, no, we have to start all over again. We have a rule that we have to give a series of 3 puppy vaccines. I don't care if we're starting at 14 weeks, we're going to give it at 14, 16, and 18. No, 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 no. Do not allow your puppy or kitten to get all these vaccines. They do not need a series of 8. What they really need is a series of 2, potentially 1, depending on when you start. So in my practice, we started trying to get people to hold off on their vaccines for puppies and kittens. We wouldn't give the first vaccine till between 12 and 14 weeks. And we would split them, so we would do the distemper separate from the parvo. And a lot of these animals, if we started later, they could get 1 distemper vaccine, 1 parvo vaccine. 4 weeks later, we'd run a titer, and they would have good, strong immunity. The fewer vaccines you give, the later they're given, the better the immunity and the longer lasting the immunity. We have good immune studies on that. So that's what we're looking for. We are not looking for puppies and kittens to start getting vaccinated at 2, 4, 6, or 8 weeks. We want to wait on these guys. So if you have any say in the matter, and if you can do that, please, please, please wait. Please hold off. And don't, subject yourself and your animal to a lifetime of immune system disease and chronic inflammation. All right, everybody have a wonderful day. There we go. We'll get you some bells to sign off. Got plenty of work to do in the warehouse today. Got plenty of work to do all the time. Haven't finished Christmas shopping yet either. Oh well. We'll get to it. This was from my office manager. Only on some days. Half the time nobody listens. Have a great day. Gwen, I don't know how to click out of that one.